The spring garden party was in full swing when I arrived. White tents decorated the perfectly manicured lawn. Waiters in immaculate uniforms moved among the guests with glasses of champagne and delicate canapés. At least 60 people mingled under the warm sun. It was my mother's annual spring celebration, even larger and more expensive than last year. I had noticed the guest list had grown from 40 to 60 and the catering had upgraded from basic to premium. I spotted her near the marble fountain, surrounded by her country club friends. Women in pastel dresses and flashy jewelry, men in expensive casual wear. She wore the designer dress I recognized from our shopping trip last month. The one we saw at Neiman Marcus. The one that cost $4,000. I remembered her trying it on, spinning in front of the mirror and saying, "I deserve this." "Oh, there you are," she said when she saw me approaching. Her smile was tight. "You're late. The traffic was terrible. Happy spring, Mom." Her friend Margaret looked me up and down, her gaze lingering on my simple cotton dress. "Is that what you're wearing?" "It's comfortable," I replied calmly. My mother's jaw tightened. "Could you at least pretend you made an effort? There are important people here." I stood there. She turned away and returned to her friends, completely ignoring me. I headed to the drinks table, exchanging polite greetings with a few guests I recognized. Most of them belonged to my mother's social circle. Women who lunched at the most expensive restaurants. Men who played golf at exclusive clubs. I had grown up in that world, but I never quite fit in. Even as a child, I preferred books to parties and saving over spending. My mother had always been embarrassed by that. An hour later, I was chatting with one of the caterers about his business when my mother appeared beside me. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "Having a conversation with the staff in front of everyone." Her face was flushed. "Do you have any idea how that looks?" I was asking about his catering company. "They do excellent work. You're making me look bad." Her voice rose, drawing several glances. "Mom, I was just. You are an embarrassment." The words came out loud and sharp. The entire garden seemed to fall silent. Then her hand struck my face. The slap echoed across the lawn. My cheek burned. My eyes filled with tears from the impact. 60 people stared at us in stunned silence. "Get out," she shouted. "Get out of my house." I touched my face, feeling the heat there. For a moment I couldn't move. Then I picked up my purse from the nearby table. "Understood," I said quietly. I walked through the silent crowd, past the shocked faces and the waiters frozen with their trays. No one said a word. I got into my car and drove home with my cheek still burning. That night, sitting in my apartment, I thought about the accounts. All the accounts I had managed for the last 7 years. The ones my mother didn't believe I knew about. The ones she definitely didn't know I was funding. It had all started when my father died. He left my mother the house but very little else. His small consulting business had failed 2 years before his death, draining his savings while he desperately tried to keep it afloat. He had taken out loans, maxed out credit cards, and borrowed from friends. The life insurance barely covered the funeral and some immediate debts. My mother was devastated, not only by the grief but by the sudden realization that she was broke. The house still had a mortgage of $380,000. Property taxes were $15,000 a year. She had $67,000 in credit card debt. The car she drove had 2 years left on its lease at $890 per month. Her country club membership, which she insisted was essential for her social status, cost $18,000 a year. 3 months after the funeral, she came to me in desperation. "I can't lose the house. I can't lose everything. It's all I have left of your father." I was 27, freshly successful in my tech career. I had just sold my first startup for $8 million. My mother had no idea about the sale. She never asked about my computer work. "How much do you need?" I asked. "The mortgage is 3 months behind. The taxes are due. I have debt on my cards." I reviewed the numbers. It was serious, very serious. Without help, she would lose everything in 6 months. So I made a decision. Through my financial manager, I set up a system. My investment accounts would automatically transfer money to cover my mother's expenses, the mortgage, taxes, utilities, her club membership, the car payments, her credit cards. All payments came from accounts in the name of my business manager. My mother received notices that an anonymous benefactor had created a trust in her favor. She never questioned it. She never wondered who was behind it. For 7 years, I funded her lifestyle. The house, the parties, the designer clothes, the luxury vacations, everything paid for by the daughter she found embarrassing. I continued working, building my second startup, making careful investments. The 8 million had grown to 40 million. I could afford to support her. It seemed easier than facing the truth. She had never become independent after my father's death. But sitting in my apartment with the mark of her hand still on my face, I made a different decision. On Monday morning, I called my financial manager. The accounts supporting Margaret Anderson. I said, I want all automatic transfers stopped immediately. He hesitated. All of them, every single one, mortgage, cards, utilities, memberships, everything stops today. She will receive notice that the trust has ended. Are you sure? Completely. Understood. I'll process the cancellations within the hour. After that, I called the mortgage company directly. This is regarding account number 2847 on River Drive. I am the guarantor on that mortgage. I want to remove my guarantee immediately. The representative checked the system. Miss Anderson, you have been the guarantor for 7 years. If you withdraw, the primary borrower will need to qualify on her own or the loan will be called due. I understand. Are you sure? Yes. Understood. I'll process the request. Mrs. Margaret Anderson will be notified within 48 hours. I spent the rest of Monday making similar calls to the credit card companies, the country club where I covered the membership, and the agency handling the luxury car lease. By Tuesday afternoon, the system I had built over 7 years was completely dismantled. On Wednesday morning, my phone began ringing. It was my mother. I didn't answer. She left a message. There must be some mistake with my accounts. The bank says the mortgage payment was declined. Call me. On Thursday she called 6 times. I deleted every message without listening. On Friday afternoon she showed up at my office building. Security called upstairs. She says she needs to see you, Miss Anderson. Tell her I'm not available. She's very insistent, says it's an emergency. Tell her to make an appointment with my assistant. She's asking about some accounts. She seems very upset. That's not my problem. Security managed to get her to leave after 20 minutes. That night I received a text from my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister. Your mom called me crying. Something about her accounts being frozen. Do you know anything about this? No, I replied. On Saturday more calls came. On Sunday my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. I turned it off and spent the weekend reading. On Monday, exactly 1 week after the party, my financial manager called. I'm getting calls from several creditors. He said, your mother's mortgage payment was declined. Her cards are being declined. The country club called about unpaid dues. The car company is threatening repossession. As expected, she has also hired a lawyer. They're trying to find out who was behind the trust. They won't find anything they can use. The terms clearly stated the support could be terminated at any time for any reason. They're claiming financial abuse of an elderly person. I laughed. She's 62 and perfectly capable of managing her own finances. Or she would be if she lived within her means. They also claim there was a verbal agreement to continue supporting her. There was no agreement. I provided anonymous help through a trust. That help has ended. There is nothing illegal about that. Understood. Our legal team will prepare a response. On Tuesday afternoon, my assistant spoke through the intercom. Your mother is in the lobby again. She has someone with her. Looks like a lawyer. Same response. I'm not available. They're demanding to see you. Something about fiduciary responsibility. Call building security. If they don't leave in 5 minutes, we call the police for trespassing. They left after 10 minutes. On Wednesday the calls intensified. My mother called from different numbers. Friends' phones, blocked numbers, unknown numbers. I answered none of them. On Thursday she sent a letter by courier to my office. My assistant brought it marked urgent. I opened it. 3 pages of her handwriting. Growing more desperate with each line. I don't understand what happened. The bank says someone stopped paying my mortgage. My cards are maxed out and payments aren't going through. The country club is threatening to revoke my membership. My car will be repossessed next week. Please, if you know anything about who was helping me, I need to find them. I'm going to lose everything. I'm sorry about the party. I was stressed. Please help me. I placed the letter in my drawer and returned to work. On Friday afternoon, my financial manager called again. Your mother's house has entered foreclosure. The bank filed the documents this morning. She has 90 days. That's standard procedure. Her cards have been cancelled for non-payment. The country club terminated her membership. Her car was repossessed yesterday. Thank you for the update. Is there anything else? She opened a GoFundMe saying she's a widow facing homelessness due to financial hardship. It's her decision. She has raised $300 in 2 days. I'm not surprised. Her real friends know she lived far beyond her means for years. 2 weeks after the party, Aunt Linda called from my mother's phone. You have to talk to your mother. She said, she's falling apart. The house is in foreclosure. She has no money. She can't even pay for groceries. She can get a job. I said calmly, she's 62. Plenty of people work at 62. In fact, most don't have the luxury of early retirement. How can you be so cold? She's your mother. She slapped me in front of 60 people and threw me out of her house. She says it was a misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding. She was very clear about how she feels. So you're just going to let her lose everything? I'm not letting her lose anything. She's losing things because she can't pay for them. That's called consequences. But couldn't you help her? I could. I'm choosing not to. This is cruel. Cruel is slapping your daughter at a party because she spoke to a waiter. Cruel is calling her an embarrassment in front of your entire social circle. I'm simply stepping away from a situation that no longer serves me. Aunt Linda hung up on me. 3 weeks after the party, my financial manager sent me a detailed report. The sale of my mother's house was scheduled for foreclosure auction. Her credit score had dropped 200 points. She had temporarily moved in with Aunt Linda. She had applied for several retail jobs but hadn't been hired yet. She's also been telling people you cut her off. He added, some of her friends have been calling your office. Forward all those calls to our legal team. Already done. 1 month after the party, I received one final hand-delivered letter marked personal. Inside was a single page. I know it was you. Linda helped me figure it out. You paid for everything for 7 years. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But now I understand. You were taking care of me and I treated you terribly. I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry. Please forgive me. Please help me. I'm begging you. I'm going to lose the house next month. I have nowhere to go. Please. I read it twice. Then I picked up my phone and started to write a reply. You're right. It was me. I paid your mortgage, your bills, your club dues, your car, your cards. For 7 years I funded the lifestyle you thought you deserved. You never asked where the money came from. You never questioned the anonymous trust, you just spent it. And while I paid for your designer dresses and your parties, you called me an embarrassment. You slapped me in front of your friends. Now you can learn to support yourself like the rest of us. Consider this your education in financial independence. I didn't send it. Instead, I deleted the message and wrote something simpler. The trust that was supporting you has ended. I have no information about who established it or why it was cancelled. I suggest you speak with a financial advisor about living within your means. That one I did send. Her reply came immediately. It was you. I know it was you. How can you do this to your own mother? I blocked her number. The house sold at auction 6 weeks after the party. My mother moved to a small apartment on the other side of the city. Working part-time at a department store. I learned all this through occasional updates from Aunt Linda that I didn't ask for but didn't stop. My business continued to thrive. The startup I had been building went public 3 months after the party. Valuing my shares at $70 million, I bought a larger apartment in the city center, donated generously to organizations that support survivors of domestic violence, and established a scholarship fund for women in technology. Sometimes I drive past my mother's old house. A young family lives there now. They put a swing in the backyard where the party tent once stood. I never responded to any more messages from my mother. Eventually they stopped coming. Once my financial manager asked if I regretted my decision. I thought carefully before answering. No, I said. I regret supporting her for 7 years. I regret